Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and we invite you to join us once again as What It Takes Radio presents another adventure into the Transplant Zone. This is for those people who are going through living on the edge because they are looking forward with some anxiety and maybe some fear about getting a transplant. It's also people who need a transplant and wonder, what are they going to do to me? What's going to happen to me? Some people who are now recovering and trying to get back into life because they have a transplant now and they hope it'll work. And then, as you will learn today, as Gary invites us into another Transplant Zone adventure, it's not just the people who need it or are having it or are doing it. It is often the family and friends who are also involved in the adventure, in the fear, oftentimes the anxiety of just wondering what will happen to them all as they come into the transplant zone. Well, Gary, once again, with a sense of humor and optimism, has a word of wisdom, and he'll help you better understand how you can help not only yourself but your family as you go into the transplant zone.
Hey Stan, thank you for doing this and helping me with this because, again, my fingers don't work that well and I cannot do it myself. So if you need him to do anything like this, just call him up, you can find him. But today I wanted to talk about an event I had. It was not an event that most people ever have. I have a pacemaker, defibrillator, and all that stuff. So I was going down to go get the car washed. You know, it's no big deal. Do it lots of times, going and see all different people. But I got a little shock. And something told me in my mind, Gary, you need to pull over, stop, and put your flashers on. Well, I did that. And I was actually sitting right in front of the house where our wife had went to play with the seniors people. They play cards and all kinds of different things, but she was there. And so when I pulled over, the next thing I know, it felt like a horse kicking me in the chest. And I said, "Whoa, what's that?" Well, I just turned around and went to see my wife and said, "I just had an event." And she goes, "What went on?" I said, "Well, I've already called the LVAD people." And she was sitting there, we were talking, and they said, "Gary, don't drive to the hospital, call the ambulance." And I said, "Well, and don't let your wife drive you. You know, you need to come in and we need to find out what happened." Well, sure enough, I was in tachycardia and AFib, and I got rebooted. So when I got rebooted, you know, it kind of stops your heart, you know, from doing anything. But I have the LVAD, which keeps pumping my blood. So I never passed out. Thank God for that. But we go on off to the hospital, and they tune me up. They redo my motor and stuff, and the computer reset it and gave me some more medicine. But by the grace of Jesus Christ, am I sitting here before you talking, because they said, "Gary, that was another life event. You know, you did not just get here on your own." And I said, "I know that." So I said, "Thank you, Lord," again. And my wife, you know, now is a little more nervous because we've got this thing where when you're living on the edge in a transplant zone, or actually every day, you've got family around you. You've got your wife, you know, or your husband, or your kids, or your grandkids, and this all affects them. So about 2 nights later, I woke up and she was sobbing. And I said to myself, you know, I don't know what to do, Lord. I said, wow. And I mean, she was bawling loud enough to wake me up. And I am a hard sleeper, especially if I don't have my hearing aids in. So, I mean, she wasn't just crying a little bit, she was just bawling. So I told her, I said, honey, I says, I don't know what to do to help you, except for why don't I just put my arms around you and hold you? And she said to me the next morning, that was the best thing you could do. She said, first of all, telling me that you didn't know what to do, and then putting your arms around me and just holding me. She said, that's what I needed more than anything else. And I said, wow, I did it right that time. You know, when you get in these events and you've got your family around you, just remember it's weighing on your wife or your husband. And she's thinking about, okay, he's going to have to go through them, open up his chest again. We don't know what's going to happen, but they're going to give him somebody else's heart. And don't know how that's going to work. And neither do I. I haven't been told that yet. I get told a lot of things, but that's not one of them that I know of. So you just step out in faith and go on. And do I worry about it? Actually, I don't. I'm just different from most people because I've been through so much that God has taken care of me. And since He sent me back now, and He asked me if I was His servant, and I said, yes, Lord, I'm your servant. So, you know, sometimes when you read the Bible, it talks about servants and their relationships. And so I've got it in my head, okay, He sent me back. He's responsible for me. He's actually responsible for all of you, all of us, you know. And I think about that and I go, well, there's no need of me worrying. And she says, well, what about if this happens and that happens? And I said, He sent me back. Do you believe that? And she said, yes. And do you believe I'm His servant? And she said, yes, I do. I said, well, He's got to take care of those things. We don't need to worry about it. And she said that was pretty calming to see me knowing I'm going to get my chest cut open and they're going to stick somebody else's heart in me. And it's going to be about 20 hours because surgery. All kinds of things can happen, but I'm not worried about it. And the best thing I can say to you, love your family, love your kids. And if you're scared, tell somebody. It's okay. It's okay to feel the pressures, and that's what my wife is feeling now. She's feeling, well, Gary, you know, you're going to have this surgery, and, you know, it's probably going to take you 3 months to get over. And I go, well, I was figuring 6 months, but I'm not planning on doing much for the first 3 months or the first month. But He'll tell me when it's time to move. I'm just not going to sit around and wait. So as we go through this, we're going through it with you too. And my plan, it may turn out a lot different because in the mornings when I get up, I say, Lord, I got a plan today. I'm going to do this, this, and this. And then I say, let's do your plan. And so I say that to the open heart surgery. Let's do your plan, not mine. And He will take care of it. He will take care of her. He will take care of my son and my grandsons because they will want to know more about this. And I guess I'll have to pull my shirt up and show them don't have the batteries anymore and what my scar looks like. You know, kids are really interested in scars. Well, the funny thing about that is I've had bypass surgery twice, and they've been into me quite a few times, and I'm kind of getting tired of that. But that's another story. That's another life. That, you know. But I'll show them to it, and they look at me and they go, "You're different." And I said, yeah, look at all these scars. I said, I've had 3 more scars, but they cut them out when they cut the first one off and did the second one. And I go, now, why did they do that? And the doctor told me they did that because scars do not heal very well. And I didn't know that. So I learned something new that day. And I'm thinking, how many scars have I had on my chest where they went in there? But it's not important, you know. So I'll have one more, and they'll cut the bigger one out. And I hope if they do anything else while they're in the area, they can maybe do a tummy tuck or something. You know, I want them to get the money's worth. I have a little bit of a hernia where one of them, when they did the surgery, it kind of herniated a little bit. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to talk to them about that before I go under and say, hey, why y'all in there? Can you fix that little place, that little bubble there above my navel? And I'm wondering, well, will I even have a navel after they get through with me? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that you keep moving and you keep going on and you love your family and your kids and love each other. And Lord, when you mess up, remember, He's got your back. It ain't me, it ain't somebody else, but He's looking after you. And if you don't have any faith, He'll give you the faith. It'll be the time. He'll send somebody to you at the right time. And if I can plant a seed, that's okay. I don't care who harvests it. And one more thing I'll tell you that I was saying, Lord, I'm trying to figure out if this person is a believer or not. And I was spending a lot of time on that. Now, the real thing is, now, if they were, we're going to treat them different or the same. Well, I try to treat everybody the same and let them know that they're loved. And it goes long ways. But he said to me one time, he said, Gary, he said, he said, you've been spending a lot of time trying to do my job. He said, do you think you can do it better than I can? And, that's a loaded question. And I said, no way I can do it, because he said, and then I said, I can't see their heart. And he said, yep, that's what I was going to tell you. So, don't know what's going to happen till next time. We don't know if we have another event or anything, but they keep moving me on up the list. This event's supposed to got me up higher. So I'm going, well, that was a good thing then. And my wife said, you have a funny way of looking at stuff. And I said, yep. I said, it's a good thing. I'm still here. I'm still walking around. So never give up your hope. And don't let people steal your joy. And there's one more thing. When you go to the website, click on subscribe, so that when I go to the hospital and it's put on the podcast is put on the website, then you'll know when I'm in the hospital. And again, my plan, and it could change, is to be followed all the way through and let you know what it's like to have a heart transplant. And then you can know about any other transplant too. And we would like to have people to talk about their experiences. So I'm going to give you my number, the last thing, and then I'm going to say goodbye. It's 919-244-6043. And thank you very much.
Well, once again, thank you, Gary. I sit here directing and producing this program, and I'm just amazed. You're kind of an amateur. You've never done this before, but you have learned how to communicate in a way that connects with people. And I'm one of the many who will say, wow, even though I may or may not be in the transplant zone, you certainly have words of wisdom for how to live. Live every day to the fullest. Live every day, if it might be your last. Live every day with joy every day. Just do that. So thank you very much. And so once again, the transplantzone.com. That's also a YouTube. You can go to the YouTube banner, the Transplant Zone. All of that's coming together in the website and the YouTube channel. And of course, Gary is now very much open to come and speak and work with you and your group, your church, your ministry, your place of worship. Anybody, as Gary says, I'll talk to anybody about almost anything, but particularly about living life in the transplant zone. So you reach out to him if you'd like to find out more about you yourself being on the program, or perhaps you'd like to do your own program. You just let me know. Stan at witradio.net. Stan at witradio.net. And blessings, prayers to you, all of you, and let's continue to press on. This is the very week in which we see a turning point. Maybe the peace in the Middle East will actually come to be. And maybe that'll be spreading throughout the world, and maybe there'll be for each and every one of us a greater peace in the world. So, as the Master said, peace be with you today. Till next time, from the Transplant Zone, I'm Stan Houston for Gary, the Transplant Man, and we'll see you again. Best and blessings. Bye for now.